The distress signal had been traveling through space for 3 months. Ambassador stood in the communication room of the Harmonious Dawn, his thin fingers trembling as he watched the incoming message. His people, had never been warriors. None of the 47 species in the Galactic Coalition were. They built beautiful cities, wrote poetry, and studied the stars in peace. Then the swarm came. Remembered the first attack. The creatures descended on the colony world of like a plague. They were massive things, each one standing twice as tall as any. Their shells were thick as starship armor. Their blood burned through metal. Worst of all, they shared one mind across millions of bodies. The coalition military tried to fight back, but their weapons were designed for defense, not war. Within 6 months, 12 worlds had fallen. Now the coalition was dying. Their fleets were broken. Their people were fleeing into deep space. In desperation, the Council had sent distress signals to every unexplored region of the galaxy. Most species would ignore the calls. Some might not even understand them, but they had to try. The message on screen was in broken galactic standard, clearly translated by a new species. It was short. "We hear your call, we will help. Send coordinates. Captain, United Earth Space Service." Felt his heart skip. Someone had answered. He immediately sent back the location of Station Harmony, a neutral meeting point. Within a day, he received confirmation. The humans were coming. 3 days later, stood in the docking bay of Station Harmony. He was not alone. 6 other coalition ambassadors stood with him, representing different species. All of them were nervous. What kind of species would answer a war call from strangers? What did these humans want in return? The airlock opened with a hiss. 3 figures stepped through. Had studied hundreds of species in his long life, but these humans were strange. They were shorter than, with compact bodies and thick limbs. Their skin was dark or light in different shades. Hair grew from their heads in black or brown colors, but what struck most were their eyes. They moved constantly, watching everything. Predator eyes. The lead human stepped forward. He wore a dark blue uniform with symbols didn't recognize. His face was hard, with lines around his eyes that suggested age and stress. When he spoke, his voice was calm and deep. "I am captain of the UFSS Indomitable. This is Lieutenant and Sergeant Lee." He gestured to the 2 beside him. The female had sharp eyes and stood perfectly straight. The male was built like a block of stone, with scars visible on his hands. Bowed in the way. "I am Ambassador, thank you for coming. We did not expect anyone to answer our call." Nodded. "We only achieved faster-than-light travel 4 months ago. Your signal was the first we received from alien life. We had to respond." One of the other ambassadors, a floating gas being named, spoke up. "You are very new to space travel. Do you understand what you are offering? The swarm is not a simple threat. They have destroyed civilizations that stood for thousands of years." Lieutenant spoke this time. Her voice was clear and precise. "We read your data files. They are large, armored, and operate as a hive mind. They use biological weapons and numerical superiority. They have crushed your defensive fleets." "Yes," said sadly. "We have lost so many. Our military was never meant for this kind of war. We are peaceful people." Sergeant made a sound that might have been a laugh. "That's your problem right there." Felt confused. "I don't understand." Captain stepped closer. Even though he was shorter than, something about the human made the ambassador want to step back. "Ambassador, humans have been at war for our entire history. We've fought animals, disease, each other, and our own planet. Earth is not a kind world. It made us hard." "Your planet made you fight?" another ambassador asked. "Why?" Answered, "Earth has gravity 3 times stronger than standard galactic norm. Our atmosphere corrodes most metals you use for construction. We have storms that can destroy cities, earthquakes that split the ground open, animals that hunt in packs with intelligence. We learn to survive by being tougher than everything trying to kill us." Felt a chill run through his body. These humans came from a death world. He had read about such places in old texts. Planets so hostile that only the most aggressive species could evolve there. He had thought they were myths. "How many ships can you send?" asked directly. "Ships," stammered. "We have perhaps 40 vessels left in fighting condition, but they are not designed for—" "We'll work with what we have," interrupted. "We're bringing 12 Earthships. Not much, but they're built for combat. We'll need to coordinate strategies. When can you have your fleet at the rally point?" The coalition ambassadors looked at each other in shock. These humans were talking about going on the attack against the unstoppable swarm. "Captain," said slowly, "I must be clear, they have never been defeated in direct combat. They are savage beyond measure. They will not negotiate or retreat. They exist only to consume. Are you certain you want to face them?" Looked at in. Something passed between them, some human expression couldn't read, then turned back. "Ambassador, we appreciate the warning, but humans don't abandon people who need help. Besides, we've been fighting impossible odds since we climbed out of caves and started throwing rocks at things bigger than us. At least this time, we have guns." Grinned, showing white teeth, and ships, and nukes, and a really bad attitude about things that eat civilians. Realized in that moment that the coalition had made a terrible mistake. They had called out into the darkness for help. They thought they would find allies. Instead, they had found something that scared him more than they had found. The meeting ended with coordinates exchanged and plans made. As the humans left, turned to his fellow ambassadors. "What have we done?" he whispered. His gaseous form rippled with worry. "We called for help," they answered. "Now we will see if the cure is worse than the disease." In his quarters that night, researched everything he could find about Earth. What he found made him unable to sleep. Humans were apex predators on a planet full of apex predators. They had hunted species to extinction. They had survived ice ages and plagues. They had created weapons that could destroy their own world, then chose not to use them. The swarm was about to encounter something they had never faced before. Not prey, not even equals. They were about to face humanity, and humanity was very, very good at war. The coalition fleet arrived at Mars 3 weeks later, stood on the bridge of the harmonious dawn, watching the red planet grow larger on the screen. Around it floated dozens of human structures, space stations, shipyards, weapons platforms. For a species that had only reached the stars months ago, humans had built an impressive war machine. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced. A human face appeared on screen. She was young with sharp features and dark hair pulled back tight. "Coalition fleet, this is Commander Nam of Mars Orbital Command. You are cleared for docking at stations 12 through 19. Welcome to human space." Bowed slightly. "Thank you, Commander. We look forward to working together." His expression didn't change. "Captain has arranged tour of our vessels and training facilities. I must warn you, some of our standard procedures may seem intense. If you feel uncomfortable at any time, inform your escort." The transmission ended. Felt a knot of worry in his stomach. What did intense mean to a species from a death world? He found out soon enough. The first stop was a training facility on Station 17. Lieutenant met and a small group of coalition officers at the airlock. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Humans smiled a lot, had learned. It rarely meant they were happy. "Welcome," said. "We're currently running basic combat drills. You're free to observe." She led them down a corridor. Noticed immediately that the gravity felt wrong, heavy, like something was pressing down on him. He checked his suit's readings. 1.2 times standard gravity. The humans walked normally, not seeming to notice. They entered a large room where human soldiers were training. What saw made him stop in shock. The soldiers were fighting each other with their bare hands, not gently. They struck with fists and feet. They threw each other to the ground. Some were bleeding from cuts on their faces. Others had bruises forming on their skin, and they were laughing, making jokes as they hurt each other. An officer beside made a sound of distress. Are they trying to kill each other? Looked confused. What? No, this is just basic close combat training. They're pulling their punches. Real combat is much more intense. They're bleeding, pointed out. Minor injuries, said with a shrug. Builds pain tolerance. On Earth, soldiers train until they can function even when hurt. You never know when you'll be wounded in battle. Watched a human soldier get thrown hard onto the mat. The impact would have broken his bones. The human just got up, laughed, and attacked again. What is your planet like? Asked quietly, that you must train this way. Was quiet for a moment. Earth has animals that hunt in packs. We have weather that can freeze you solid or cook you alive. We have diseases that have killed millions of us. And for most of our history, the biggest threat to humans was other humans. We fought wars that killed tens of millions. We learned that if you want to survive, you need to be harder than whatever is trying to kill you. The next stop was worse. Dr. Jin, a human scientist, showed them the medical bay. She was cheerful and friendly, which somehow made things more frightening. She held up a container of liquid. This is our standard disinfectant, she explained. We use it to clean wounds. A coalition medic scanned it and went pale. That chemical would dissolve skin in seconds. How can you use it? Humans have very tough skin, said proudly. We evolved to handle lots of things that kill other species. Alcohol, caffeine, capsaicin, theobromine. Most of our recreational substances are toxins to other life forms. Recreational, repeated. We consume them for fun, explained. Alcohol impairs our thinking. Caffeine stimulates us. Capsaicin causes pain. We enjoy these things. The coalition officers exchanged horrified looks. These humans deliberately poisoned themselves for entertainment. Later that day, met with Captain and Admiral Park in a conference room. Was older than, within his hair and cold eyes that had seen too much. He spread out tactical maps on the table. They have a simple strategy, explained. Overwhelming force. They gather massive fleets and crush everything in their path. Your people tried to meet them in defensive formations. That's why you lost. What would you do differently? Asked. We attack, said simply. Hit their supply lines, destroy their hatchery ships, force them to spread out. Humans learned centuries ago that the best defense is a strong offense. But the casualties, protested. Your people will die. Spoke up. People die in war, Ambassador. We accept that. What matters is that we win. We'll mourn our dead after the battle is over. Couldn't understand this mentality. You speak of death so easily. Because we've lived with it always, said. His voice was not cruel, just tired. Every human knows they will die someday. Our planet made sure we understood that young. So we don't fear death as much as we fear losing. We fear letting others down. We fear not trying hard enough. That evening met a young officer named. She had been talking with some human pilots. Her eyes were wide with shock. They told me stories, she said quietly, about their history. They've had wars where millions died, diseases that killed half their population. They survived ice ages that covered their world in snow, and they talk about it like it's normal. I know, said. One of them, a pilot named, told me about something called World War II. 70 million dead, 70 million, and humans caused it to themselves. Looked at with fear in her eyes. Ambassador, what have we brought into our war? Before could answer, alarms blared through the station. A human voice came over the speakers. All personnel prepare for departure. Fleet launch in 6 hours. This is not a drill. Rushed to the bridge. On the main screen, he saw dozens of human warships powering up. They were dark, angular things, built for function, not beauty. Their weapons were visible on the hull. Missiles, energy weapons. Each ship looked like it wanted to fight. Captain appeared on screen from his ship, the Indomitable. Ambassador, we just received word. They are attacking the system. 3 of their bioships are in orbit harvesting the colony. Your fleet is ready. Yes, said Weekly, but they have never been defeated. Perhaps we should wait for more ships. His expression hardened. People are dying right now. We don't wait, we go. If you want to hang back, that's fine, but we're leaving now. The transmission ended. Watched the human fleet begin to move. They weren't fleeing from the enemy. They were rushing toward it. The coalition ships followed behind, their crews terrified. In the human ships, soldiers checked their weapons. Pilots ran pre-flight tests. Engineers made sure every system was ready. And they sang old war songs from Earth, songs about death and glory and never surrendering. Listen to the songs translated through his communicator. They were terrible and beautiful. They spoke of humans who died fighting, who sacrificed everything for others, who charged into impossible battles because someone had to. The fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed. In a few hours they would reach. They would be there, expecting an easy victory. They had no idea what was coming. Neither did. He looked at the human ships racing ahead. Warriors born from a planet that tried to kill them every day. Creatures that turned trauma into strength and fear into fuel. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity really was, and was both grateful and terrified to witness it. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of the system. On every ship's screen, the same terrible sight appeared. 3 massive bioships hung in orbit around Prime. They were huge, organic things that looked more like insects than vessels. Their hulls pulsed with movement. Smaller attack craft swarmed around them like flies. Below, on the planet's surface, cities burned. They were harvesting the population, taking them for food or worse. Stood on the bridge of the harmonious dawn, feeling his hopes die. The coalition fleet began moving into defensive positions as they had been trained. Protect each other, form a line, try to minimize losses. Then the human ships did something unexpected. They accelerated, straight toward the enemy. What are they doing? One of his officers shouted. That's suicide. Opened a channel to Captain's ship. Indomitable, you're heading directly into their formation. Pull back. His face appeared on screen. He was strapped into his command chair. Around him, the bridge crew worked quickly, calmly. Ambassador, we're engaging the enemy. I suggest you stay at range and provide support fire. You'll be outnumbered 50-1. Yes, said with a small smile. That means they can't surround us. Out. The transmission ended. Watched in horror as 12 human ships charged toward 3 bioships and hundreds of smaller craft. It was madness. It was impossible. The humans were going to die. On the Indomitable, Captain gave rapid orders. Take your fighter wing and hit the attack craft. Target their communications nodes. I want these things confused. Prepare boarding teams. Lieutenant's fingers flew across her console. Weapons locked, firing. The Indomitables opened up. Unlike the energy weapons most coalition ships used, these fired solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. They punched through armor like paper. The bioship's hull split open. Atmosphere and fluids vented into space. Pilot led his squadron of small fighters into the swarm of enemy craft. The attack ships were fast and numerous, but they flew in predictable patterns. The hive mind made them think alike, move alike. Didn't fight like that. He dove through their formation, spinning his fighter in ways that should have torn it apart. The G-forces would have killed most species. Humans could handle it. He fired missiles at point-blank range, destroying 3 enemies before they could react. Come on, you ugly bugs, he shouted over the comm. Is that all you got? His squadron followed his lead. They didn't fly in neat formations. Each pilot moved independently, unpredictably. They couldn't coordinate against them. Within minutes, dozens of enemy craft were destroyed. On the Indomitable, alarms blared. A bioship had launched boarding pods. They struck the human ship's hull and burned through the armor, watched on his long-range sensors, expecting the humans to retreat. Instead, they prepared to fight. Sergeant Lee stood in the corridor with 20 soldiers. They wore heavy armor and carried automatic weapons. Chemical propellant firearms, his favorite. Loud, violent, effective. "Remember," he told his team, "these things are tough, but they're built for low gravity. We turn up the ship's gravity, they slow down. Then we kill them." The burst through the breach. They were exactly as the reports described. Huge, armored creatures with too many legs and mandibles that dripped acid. They moved fast, screeching with a sound that would make most species freeze in fear. Smiled now. The corridor's gravity increased to 2 times Earth standard. They stumbled. Their bodies weren't built for this. They struggled to move. The humans just adjusted their stance and opened fire. The sound was deafening. Bullets tore into armor. The creatures screamed and charged forward, but they were too slow. His team worked together. Some fired while others reloaded. They gave ground when needed. They used the ship's corners and doorways for cover. One got close. Its claws slashed at a human soldier. The armor held. The soldier stepped back and another human moved in, firing directly into the creature's face. It fell. 10 minutes later, all the boarders were dead. His team had 2 injured, none dead. He reported to the bridge. "Corridor 7 secured. These things are tough but predictable. Send more if they want." Captain allowed himself a moment of pride. "Good work. Now seal that breach and get ready for round 2. The battle raged around. The human ships fought unlike anything they had encountered. They rammed enemy vessels. They fired at point-blank range. They used the planet's gravity well to slingshot around for unexpected attacks. One human destroyer, the Resilience, lost its main engines. Instead of retreating, the captain ordered all power to weapons. They drifted into a bioship and fired everything they had. Both ships were destroyed, but the bioship was 10 times larger. The trade was worth it. Watched the tactical display with growing amazement. The humans were winning. No, not winning. Dominating. They fought with a coordination that matched the hive mind, but with creativity the hive could never match. Then something changed. On his sensors, saw the ships begin to pull back. They were retreating. The swarm that had never retreated was running away. "Why are they leaving?" an officer asked in confusion. "Understood, because they're afraid." On the Indomitable's bridge, Captain watched the enemy flee. His ship was damaged. Fires burned in 3 sections. 17 crew members were dead, but they had won. He opened a channel to the fleet. "All ships cease fire. Let them run. We've accomplished our mission." Lieutenant looked at the casualty reports. Her expression was sad but controlled. 17 dead on our ship, 53 across the fleet. The Resilience was lost with all hands. 112 total casualties. Nodded slowly. Each number was a person, someone with family, with dreams, gone because he had led them into battle. It hurt. It always hurt. But they had saved thousands below on. "Mark them as heroes," he said quietly, "and prepare the rescue shuttles. There are people on that planet who need help." The coalition fleet finally moved forward, amazed they were still alive. They had expected to die today. The humans had expected to fight. The difference in mindset had changed everything. Took a shuttle down to Prime. He found Captain standing in the ruins of a city, helping pull survivors from collapsed buildings. The human's uniform was dirty. His face was covered in ash. He worked alongside his crew, using human strength to lift debris that others couldn't move. Captain said, "You saved this world." "Didn't stop working. We did what needed doing. Your people can take it from here. We need to repair our ships." "Those soldiers who died," asked, "do you not mourn them?" Lifted a large piece of concrete, revealing a child underneath. He carefully pulled the child free and handed her to a medic. Then he looked at. "We mourn them by remembering what they died for. They died so this child could live. That's not a tragedy, Ambassador, that's purpose. We'll grieve later in private. Right now, we finish the mission. Later that night on the Indomitable, the crew held a memorial service. They read the names of the dead. They told stories about them. Some cried. Some stood in silence. Then they sang one of their war songs, about sacrifice and duty and doing what's right even when it's hard. Attended, standing quietly at the back, he saw how humans dealt with death, not by running from it, not by pretending it didn't hurt, but by accepting it as the price of protecting others. The galaxy's intelligence networks went silent that night. Every species was analyzing the same data. The swarm had been defeated in open battle, not just defeated, driven away, by a species that had been in space for less than a year. The predators had met something worse than themselves, something that fought not just to survive, but to win, something that would sacrifice itself for strangers. The galaxy had found its, and nothing would ever be the same. The victory had changed everything. Word spread across the galaxy. The swarm could be beaten. The coalition gained hope for the first time in months. More importantly, they gained something they had never felt before: fear. But fear makes dangerous things more dangerous. 6 weeks after, Admiral Park stood in the command center on Mars, studying intelligence reports. His face was grim. Lieutenant stood beside him, equally worried. "They're gathering," said quietly. "Every ship from 3 sectors, all converging on one point." Nodded. "The Arcturus Gate. They want to cut off our access to coalition space. If they take that position, they can isolate us." "How many ships?" asked, though she already knew. 300 bioships, thousands of smaller craft. It's their apex fleet, everything they have in this region. Looked at her. "They're coming to end us." The human fleet had 37 combat-ready ships. The coalition could spare another 50, 87 ships against 300. Even for humans, the odds were terrible. Called a meeting with all ship captains. Captain was there, recovered from his injuries so was Sergeant Lee, now commanding his own strike team. Pilot attended via video from his carrier. Dr. Jin represented the science division, and sitting quietly in the corner was Ara, a war correspondent who had been recording everything. "We can't win this fight with conventional tactics," began. "They will overwhelm us with numbers. So we're going to do something the galaxy has never seen. We're implementing the doctrine." Attending as coalition representative, felt his blood chill. "What is the doctrine?" Pulled up files on the screen. Weapon specifications, chemical formulas, tactical plans. All of it was marked with warnings in galactic standard: prohibited, banned, illegal under 37 different laws. "These are weapons," explained, "that Earth developed before we knew galactic law existed. We never signed any treaties banning them because we didn't know about the treaties. Nuclear weapons, biological agents, kinetic kill vehicles, things we made to fight each other." "You can't," protested. "Those weapons are forbidden for a reason. They cause indiscriminate death." "They have killed billions," said coldly. "They've harvested entire species. They don't take prisoners, they don't negotiate. So yes, Ambassador, we can, and we will." Spoke up. "We're also using boarding tactics developed from submarine warfare. We hit their ships from inside, sabotage their organic systems, make them afraid of their own vessels. And I've developed something special," Dr. Jin added with a bright smile that made skin crawl. "A modified human cold virus. It targets the pheromones used for hive communication. It won't kill them, but it will break their coordination, make them individuals instead of a swarm." Realized he was witnessing something terrible. Humans at total war, using every advantage their death world had given them, not fighting to survive, fighting to win absolutely. "This is madness," he whispered. Looked at him without anger, just tired acceptance. "Yes, war is madness, but the started this. We're going to finish it." 3 days later, the human fleet took position at the Arcturus Gate. The coalition ships hung back, providing long-range support. They watched as the Apex fleet arrived. It was like watching a storm roll in. Hundreds of massive bioships. The space around them was dark with smaller attack craft. On the Indomitable, Captain gave his final orders. All ships, remember your training. We don't need to destroy them all. We just need to break their will. Make them understand that fighting humans costs more than it's worth. They attacked. The first wave of attack craft came screaming toward the human lines. They expected the humans to defend, to form up and try to survive. Instead, the humans advanced, every ship straight into the enemy. Fire nuclear spreads, ordered. The human fleet launched missiles, not guided missiles, simple nuclear warheads designed to detonate in spread patterns. The explosion range in space was limited, but in the dense swarm of ships, they were devastating. Dozens of enemy craft vaporized instantly. The coalition watched in horror and awe. Humans were using weapons they considered too terrible for war, and they were using them efficiently, precisely. Pilot led his squadron through the chaos. The radiation didn't bother their fighters. Human ships were shielded against their own weapons. He spotted a command ship and smiled. Strike Team 5 were going in. Time to deliver the doctor's present. They flew through a storm of fire. 2 fighters were destroyed. The rest reached the bioship and landed in its organic hull, and his team cut their way inside, wearing sealed suits. They carried canisters of virus. They released it in the ship's ventilation system and fought their way back out. Within minutes, the on that ship began acting strangely. They stopped moving in coordination. They fought each other. The hive mind link was broken. Sergeant's boarding teams hit 3 more bioships the same way. They moved through the organic corridors like ghosts, setting charges, releasing virus, making the afraid of every shadow. On one ship's team encountered heavy resistance. 20 warriors in a narrow corridor. Instead of retreating, did something insane. He increased his suit's gravity generators to maximum and charged. At 3 times Earth gravity, he was almost immovable. They couldn't push him back. He walked forward, firing his weapon, an unstoppable force. His team followed in his wake. The corridor became a slaughterhouse. In space, the battle reached its peak. The human destroyer Valiant had its entire port side torn open. The captain, a woman named Commander Nam Sung, made a decision. All crew evacuate to escape pods. I'm taking her in. Commander, no, her second officer protested. That's an order, go now. The crew fled. Sung stayed at the helm alone. She aimed her dying ship at the largest bioship in the enemy fleet, the flagship. Then she overloaded the faster-than-light drive. The explosion created a gravity well that collapsed in on itself. Everything within 1,000 kilometers was pulled in and crushed. The bioship, dozens of smaller craft, and the Valiant with Commander Sung still aboard. Captain watched it happen. His hands gripped his chair so hard his knuckles were white. Another name to add to the list. Another hero who gave everything. Make it count, he whispered. Target that gap in their formation. All ships concentrate fire. The human fleet poured everything they had into the opening Sung had created. Missiles, energy weapons, even primitive chemical explosives that most species had abandoned centuries ago. If it could kill, humans used it. The Apex fleet began to break. Not from the damage, though that was severe, from the realization. These humans didn't fight for territory. They didn't fight for resources. They fought with absolute commitment to destruction. They were willing to die to win. Every victory cost too much. Then something impossible happened. The hive mind broadcast a signal in broken galactic standard. Cease aggression. Request negotiation. The galaxy froze. The swarm had never requested negotiation. Never. They consumed or they died. There was no middle ground. Admiral stared at the message. Around him, his crew waited for orders. On other ships, humans prepared for the next attack. They were exhausted, damaged, bleeding, but ready to keep fighting. Thought about the hundreds who had died, the ships lost, the terrible weapons they had unleashed. Then he thought about the billions they had killed, the species they had erased. "Open a channel," he ordered, "broad transmission." When the channel opened, his voice was cold and hard. "This is Admiral Park of Earth Defense Force. You attacked Coalition space without provocation. You killed billions. You gave no mercy. Now you want negotiation." There was a pause, then the replied. "You fight as the great devourers did, before the hive consumed them. You are apex predators. We did not know such species still existed." Smiled without humor. "Now you do. Here are our terms. You will leave Coalition space. You will return all prisoners. You will pay reparations. And if you ever threaten this region again, we will find your home worlds and we will end you. Completely. Do you understand?" Understood. Compliance. The fleet began to withdraw, not fleeing, retreating in order, defeated but not destroyed. They had learned something today. There were worse predators in the galaxy than themselves. On the Indomitable, Lieutenant looked at the casualty reports. Over 1,000 humans dead. 5 ships destroyed completely. 20 more barely functional. The cost had been terrible. Captain read the same reports. His face was tired, so tired. "Send the list to command. Make sure every name is recorded. They all died heroes." Watched from the harmonious dawn. He saw the human ships, broken and burning but victorious. He saw the fleeing, and he understood finally what truly were. They were species that refused to lose, that would sacrifice everything for others, that turned pain into strength and fear into fury. They were terrifying and beautiful and absolutely necessary. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was leading that change, written in blood and nuclear fire. 3 months after the Battle of Arcturus Gate, the Galactic Coalition held a grand assembly on their capital world of. The planet was beautiful, peaceful, cities made of crystal and light, gardens that stretched for miles. Everything the Coalition represented: peace, art, prosperity. But peace had a new guardian now. Ambassador stood in the Great Hall, watching delegates from all 47 Coalition species gather. He was nervous. Today, Earth would officially join the Coalition. But more than that, today the galaxy would decide what to do about humanity, about the who had saved them all. The human delegation arrived in a simple transport. No grand entrance, no military display, just 5 humans walking into the hall together. Admiral Park, his uniform decorated with medals he never asked for. Captain promoted to Admiral after Arcturus. Lieutenant, now Captain. Sergeant Lee, who had turned down promotion 3 times. And Dr. Jin, representing human science. Also with them was Ara, the war correspondent. Her recordings of the war had spread across the galaxy. Every species had watched them. Humans fighting impossible odds. Humans dying for strangers. Humans showing mercy to defeated enemies. The recordings had changed how the galaxy saw Earth. Approached the delegation. "Welcome, I hope you are ready. There will be many questions today." Admiral nodded. "We expected that. We used weapons the galaxy banned. We fought in ways that scared people. They deserve answers." The assembly began. The Coalition High Speaker, a being of pure energy named, addressed the hall. "We gather today to honor those who saved us. The humans came when we called. They fought when we could not. They bled for our freedom. But we must also address difficult questions. Earth has introduced warfare on a scale we have not seen in 10,000 years. They have used weapons we banned for good reason. What does this mean for our future?" A representative from the species stood. "I watched humans fight. I saw them use nuclear weapons, biological agents. They killed without hesitation. How do we know they won't turn these weapons on us?" Before the humans could respond, another delegate stood. Unnamed, she had served alongside humans at, "I will answer that. I fought beside humans. I saw them risk their lives for my people. Yes, they used terrible weapons against an enemy that was eating children. They did what was necessary, and when they surrendered, the humans stopped. They could have destroyed the swarm completely. They chose mercy instead. Another voice joined in. A survivor from humans pulled me from the ruins of my city. They could have left to chase the enemy. They stayed to save us. Every human ship that could land sent rescue teams. They shared their food, their medicine, everything. They are warriors, yes, but they are also protectors. The debate continued for hours. Some species were grateful, others were frightened. All of them had to accept the truth. Humanity had changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Finally, Admiral was given permission to speak. He walked to the center of the hall. His voice was calm, measured. I understand your fear. Humans scare you, we scare ourselves sometimes. Our planet made us hard. Our history made us violent. We've done terrible things to each other, but we've also learned from our mistakes. He paused, looking around the hall. Earth had weapons that could destroy our entire world. We almost used them, but we chose not to. We learned that strength without control is just destruction. We learned that the strong have a duty to protect the weak, not rule them, protect them. Captain stepped forward. You asked for help, we gave it, not because we wanted territory, not because we wanted power, but because it was right. That's what humans do. We protect those who can't protect themselves. Sometimes that means being monsters, but we choose to be monsters who fight for others, not against them. Doctor added her voice. We're sharing all our technology with the Coalition, medical advances, engineering, even our weapons, though we hope you never need them. We're not trying to rule you. We're trying to teach you how to defend yourselves. Sergeant spoke last. His words were simple. We're soldiers. We fight. We kill. We don't enjoy it. We do it because someone has to. You needed warriors. We became warriors. If you want us to leave, we'll leave. But if you want us to stay, we'll protect you with our lives. Your choice. The hall was silent. Then Ambassador stood. His voice shook with emotion. 3 months ago, I thought we had made a terrible mistake. We called for help and found creatures from a world that should not produce intelligent life. A world so hostile that only the strongest, most aggressive species could survive. I was terrified of what we had unleashed. He looked at the human delegation. But I was wrong. Yes, humans are dangerous. Yes, they fight with a ferocity we cannot match, but they also sacrifice with a courage we cannot imagine. They cry for the enemy dead. They mourn every loss. They choose mercy when they could choose destruction. They are not monsters. They are what the galaxy needed. Guardians born from hardship. Protectors forged in fire. The vote was called. 47 species voted. 47 species voted yes. Earth was welcomed into the Galactic Coalition with full membership and full honors. But there was more. The Coalition also created the Terran Defense Network, a new military structure with Earth at its center. Human advisors would train Coalition forces. Human tactics would be studied and adapted. The galaxy was learning to defend itself, finally, after of peace. Later that evening, found Captain standing alone in one of the garden terraces. She was looking up at the stars. He approached quietly. You're thinking about those who died, he said. Nodded. We have a tradition. After a battle, we remember every name, every face. Commander Sung, the crew of the Resilience, the soldiers who died on the Indomitable, all of them, we carry them with us. Does it get easier? No, said quietly. It shouldn't. The day it gets easy is the day we become the monsters you feared. Was quiet for a moment. I am still afraid of humans, but now I understand why. You remind us that the universe is dangerous, that peace must be protected, that sometimes the only way to stop evil is to be more dangerous than evil itself. Smiled sadly. We learned that lesson the hard way. On Earth we had a saying, peace through strength. We tried other ways first. They didn't work, so we became strong, strong enough to protect those who want peace. "What will you do now?" asked. "The war is over, they are beaten. Will you return to Earth?" "Some will," said, "but many will stay. Admiral is setting up training academies on 6 coalition worlds. Sergeant is forming rapid response teams. Doctor is teaching coalition scientists. We're here for the long term." "And you?" Looked at him. "I'm staying too. Someone needs to make sure the scary humans don't get too scary. Besides, I like it out here. Earth was home, but the galaxy is too interesting to leave." Back on Earth, the war was already becoming history. Children learned about the Battle of Arcturus. Veterans told stories in quiet bars. The names of the dead were carved in monuments of stone. But Earth was also looking forward. New ships were being built, not for war but for exploration. Humans wanted to see what else was out there, what other wonders the galaxy held, what other species needed help. On Mars' orbital station, Pilot was training the first class of coalition fighter pilots. They struggled with the G-forces, with the aggressive tactics, with the entire mindset of human combat flying. But they were learning. "You fly like you're trying not to die," told them. "That's your problem, fly like you're trying to win. Big difference." In the coalition border regions, human patrol ships kept watch. They were ready. If the return, they would be met with force. If new threats appeared, humanity would respond. The galaxy had guardians now. Ara released her final documentary about the war. She called it, "It Showed Everything." The battles, the sacrifices, the terrible weapons and the terrible necessity of using them. But it also showed the memorial services, the humans weeping for their dead, the moment when Admiral chose mercy over vengeance. The documentary ended with a simple message. Humans are dangerous, but they are dangerous in the service of others. They are weapons pointed at evil, and the galaxy is safer for it. Years passed. The coalition grew stronger. Other species learned from human tactics. They built better defenses. They trained harder. They became more than they were. But they never became human. They didn't need to. Humanity was enough. A single species from a single planet punching far above their weight, protecting a galaxy that had once been helpless. In a bar on, now old and sat with Admiral, also retired. They drank Earth alcohol, which had learned to tolerate in small doses. "Do you ever regret it?" asked. "Answering our call, losing so many of your people." Was quiet for a long time. "Every day, but I'd do it again. Those people didn't die for nothing. They died so billions could live. That's not a regret, that's a legacy." "The galaxy calls you now. Does that bother you?" Smiled. "No, it's accurate. Earth is a death world. It tried to kill us every day. We survived by being tougher than everything else. But we also learned something Earth taught us. Life is precious. Because it's so hard to keep. We fight to protect life because we know how easily it's lost." They sat in silence, 2 old warriors watching a peaceful world. A world that stayed peaceful because others were willing to fight. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, a human patrol ship drifted silently. Inside, young soldiers kept watch, ready, alert, hopping for peace but prepared for war. Because that's what do. They stand between the innocent and the dark. They fight so others don't have to. They sacrifice so others can live. The galaxy had learned what humanity was, and the galaxy was grateful, and terrified, and safe. All because one species from one impossible planet decided that when someone calls for help, you answer. Always.